Hi, so today we're going to have a look at this Amcor AC12 portable air conditioner that I've got for my flat. Unfortunately, even if the weather's not too hot, it's always very hot in this flat. I did do a blog write-up about this one, so you'll find out more about it there. So anyway, let's go over and have a look more closely at this unit. Okay, so this is the unit here. Just move up, sorry about the noise from the tripod. We'll go and have a look at the side cover. Here we have the right hand side of the unit. There's no actual grills on the side of that one, it's on the left. It's just a black plastic cover. Over here, this is the left hand side of the unit. This one has actually got inlets at the bottom and the top for the air to come in. Have a look at the back. And this is the overview of the back of the unit. Again, as you can see, air inlets at the top and the bottom, and the hose outlet. Okay, you have to excuse me if the camera's a bit shaky, I'm not using the tripod. So this is the top of the unit at the back. This is the air inlet that goes through and then cools, passes over, gets cooled and blown back out the top. You've got your cable coming out here. Some areas there so you can wrap the cable around when you're finished with it. You can also put the plug in there when you're storing it. You've got your hose outlet there, and at the very bottom here, that's your water drain plug at the bottom there. Take the hose off so you can see how that goes on. So remove the hose. Should be able to see there's a little clip there, there's another one at the top, and it matches up with those notches there. Very difficult to do this one-handed, so you put it in there and then turn it, which I can't do one-handed. You turn it around to the right and that locks in place. With the drain hose at the bottom, when it's cooling, it's designed to recycle as much of the water as possible to coil the condenser, and it says it uses it as an enhanced evaporation booster. Well, I've had a look inside and I can't see anything about that, but it does seem to recycle the water perfectly fine, and so far I've not had to empty it manually. When it's on the dehumidifier mode, you do need to connect a hose to it to drain it, which makes me think it's a bit stupid it being right down the bottom there, because it's gravity fed. So where are you going to run a hose to? You would have to put the unit up on top of a stool or a big box or something, little table, to give you enough drop to allow it to be drained with gravity. Here's the information label at the back, model number AC12. Pan across that so you can see. You can see there 1375 watts cooling power input. It's not actually, I think that must just be the compressor power, because it does run about 1420 to 450 with the fan on low. R410A refrigerant, it's supposed to be a bit more greener nowadays. And the pressure information, and you can see the weight there, 29 kilograms. It is quite heavy. Over to the side here, again another air inlet there. That passes over the evaporator, and at the bottom another air inlet there, and that's going over the condenser. Now over at the top of the unit here, you can see we have this adjustable louvers here, which can be closed off to prevent dust getting in the system, although really it wouldn't matter too much because it would just get blown back out again anyway. That is manual, you can open it and close it as much as you like. These ones here are swinging ones, which are controlled by a swing button over here. I don't know why they didn't put these ones, because that doesn't really do much at all as far as controlling the air, but it'd be better if these were automatic rather than those ones at the bottom there. Over at the front panel we have the swing button, we have our timer button that allows you to set a timer from anything between 1 hour to 24 hours. But it is in steps of 1 hour. So you can't have 1.5 hours, you have to have 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, etc. So you can tell it to come on So basically when it's off like this, you would press the time button, set how many hours you want it, and then it will turn on after that period of time. Or if it's running, you do the same and it will turn off after that period of time. Over here we have our speed, which is for the fan speed, low, medium and high. We have our up and down buttons to set the temperature of the unit, our display screen there, more on that later. Sleep button, sleep mode, pretty pointless because this unit's too loud to sleep with it on anyway, unless you're going to wear earplugs or something. But it's designed that when you press sleep mode, it keeps it at low fan speed, which I always use it at anyway because of the noise. And it basically, after 1 hour, it increases the temperature by 1 degree. So if you got it set at say 20, after 1 hour it would go to 21, and then after 2 hours it would go to 23, and so on. So I guess the idea is it starts cooling while you're getting asleep, and once you're asleep it increases the temperature, and you stay asleep even though the temperature is getting warmer. We have our mode button here for cooling, dehumidify and fan only mode, our on and off power button, and our waterfall indicator for if you're using dehumidify mode or if you're using cooling and it's a very humid day, and then the water tank might fill up and you'll need to drain it rather awkwardly. Now back over to the sort of back / side of the unit. These are our filters. You've got that one there that slides out there, and then there's another one here that obviously slides out from there. And you've got exactly the same at the bottom, one that slides out and one inside that comes out as well. Now for venting this unit, it comes with this hose here, which goes up to where the join is there. Now the hose is definitely too short. It does expand, you can see, but it only goes up to 1.5 meters. Now it says the unit needs to be placed 50 centimeters from any walls or anything around it. So if you've actually got it placed 50 centimeters away from something, then there's no way the hose is possibly going to reach a window, allowing you to expel the air outside. So what I've done here, the duct tape here is just because there is a slight air leakage around the connection there, so I wanted just to seal that off. I've extended the hose with a 125mm ducting hose. I think this one's about 130, 125 is the closest I could get, so that one seems to be okay. And then that one's going out over here, and I've got it connected to this adapter that just takes the 125mm and puts it into a channel feed connection that just looks a bit better in the window. What I've done here, as you can see, is I've got 4mm perspex fitted to the window, and that's all sealed around it. With the unit you get the window kit, but that's only designed for sash windows or sliding windows. It's not designed for these crank casement style windows that we tend to have in most UK homes. So basically I've just got a hole cut in there, and then this unit fits in. It just pushes in like that. What I've also done, as you can see, I've basically used a bit of plastic and some duct tape to extend the handle down, so that if I want to shut the window when I'm going out or anything, I can then pull the window to, and I can get my hand in the little hole and shut it that way. I could probably just leave it as it is because it's flat's not on the ground floor, but might void insurance if I leave the window open, so I tend to shut it when I go out. Now there is quite a bit of heat loss with this hose when it's running, so I don't think it's running as efficiently as it could do. So there is some insulation stuff I found that's like a kind of foil based stuff. It's quite thin, but it's designed for like insulating garage doors, etc. So I thought maybe because it's quite flexible I could wrap that all the way over it and try and keep most of the heat inside the hose going outside rather than leaking back in to the room as it does currently. The unit comes with this basic instruction manual, which just goes through the various safety instructions, what can and can't do, how to use it, etc. I think you can download that online if you want to read further. And it also comes with this remote control here, which has all the basic functions on it. Now, I said earlier we'd talk about this front panel and this temperature indicator. Now, this, as you can notice, is on the top of the unit. So when you're sitting down, can you see the temperature set? No, of course you can't. You have to get up to see it. And of course on the remote control there's no display, so unless you can remember what the temperature was when you started with, and then remember how many times you press the up or down button, you're not going to know what temperature you set it at unless you get up and have a look, in which case you might as well just come over to the unit and do it manually on the unit. Now, the other thing that's silly about this unit is that the air outlet is on the top, so when you're sitting down, you know, you get a little bit of a breeze because cold air is heavier than warm air, so it will go up and it will fall back down over you slightly when you're in the room. But in general, ideally you want the vent to be at the front, especially if you want to use it in fan mode, because it's a bit pointless, because unless you're standing up above it, you're not going to get any breeze blowing past you when the unit is on. Now, as you can see at the moment, it's displaying a temperature of 27, so that's saying the temperature inside the flat is 27. When the unit is on and running, it will only display the temperature that you have set it at. It will not display the temperature that the room is at, which I think is a little bit stupid. It would make much more sense to display the temperature you've set it at and then alternate every few seconds between the temperature that is currently in the room. At the top on the front of the unit we can see this little light bar, which again is the most pointless thing I've seen for many years. It basically just lights up green every time you press a button on the remote control, and that's all it ever does. It would make much more sense to me for it to light up green when you press the button, and then maybe when it was cooling it could light up red or blue, and then when it's finished cooling it could go back to green. At the moment it just seems to be lighting up green when you press the remote, which to me just seems pointless. It doesn't tell you anything at all apart from the fact you press the button on the remote control. Now onto the issue of noise. We'll turn the unit on and I'll put it on fan mode. And keep the camera at an angle, because if I have it directly in the front it might create a lot of wind noise on the microphone. So that's the fan mode at its low speed setting. Medium. And high. Back to low, and then we go over to cooling mode. So at the minute I've got the temperature set at 26, so we drop that down so it kicks in. 24. And obviously you can hear the compressors kicked in. We can have a look at the temperature that we're getting out of the unit here. See that? Temperature down to about 11 according to that thermometer, the air temperature coming out of the unit, but so far it's not really doing much for dropping the actual temperature down in the flat, unfortunately. Now I've just popped the camera over by the sofa and I've got the TV on at the normal listening volume. So I expect you can hear that. Now we can turn the unit on and you can see that obviously if you've got the TV on you're going to have to turn the TV up quite a lot to actually hear over the top of it. just with the fan running. The compressor has a 3-minute safety shut off, so it will wait up to 3 minutes since being previously running before it turns the compressor back on again.
One such bolt investigation suggested a housing association tenant was applying under the right to bicycle whilst living elsewhere. It was a job for Gareth at Bolton Home to investigate.
The actual rated volume of this unit is around 60 to 65 decibels. That seems to be roughly what I'm measuring it at on the using my phone, just an app on the phone, but it can be up to 70. So yeah, and being in flats, it's not ideal because I don't know if the neighbours can hear it upstairs or downstairs or anything, and obviously if I turn my TV up quite loud, that's going to cause problems. So now you can hear the compressors running and the TV is still set at its current level. So you can see, very difficult to hear the TV without turning the TV up when that unit's running. But here we can have a look at our temperature sensor. It's just my little one I cobbled together with the Arduino. Not sure why the outside sensor is not reading anything at the minute. You can see in 25.7. The actual sensor is just poking out slightly there. It's DS18B20, and humidity reading there 46.7. You can see 25.6, so it will go down slowly. It will maintain it at 24 reasonably okay, as long as the temperature outside is not much above 24. So yeah, it's not ideal, because I think the idea really would be that the unit's supposed to drop it, you know, at least 2 or 3 degrees below the temperature that it is outside. It may be that if you left the unit running for 5-6 hours, it would possibly manage to achieve that, but it doesn't, and that's one of the downsides of having a unit that only has a single hose. With a dual hose unit, it can take air in from outside, blow it over the condenser to cool it, cool the condenser down, and then blow that back out, and then only cool the air inside. With the single hose unit, it's basically blowing out loads and loads of air that's in your flat or your house back outside again, and at the same time it's got to replace it from somewhere, so it sucks it in through any gaps around doors, windows, etc., which obviously you don't want to seal up, so you just seal it up too much, then you would dramatically reduce the oxygen that you've got in your room, and that could of course be quite dangerous. One thing to note is that when the unit is running on cooling mode and you've got your temperature set, whatever temperature you like it, when it does achieve that temperature, it's got sensors in the unit that measure the air intake. It will turn off the compressor, but it does leave the fan running, which is a bit annoying. I'd rather that it turned off the compressor and then turned off the fan at the same time, or maybe 10 seconds after. So I'm going to probably throw something together with the Arduino, see if I can read the remote signals and build a little unit to control it separately, rather than using its own built-in system that you've got here. So that's generally just the overview of this unit. I hope you found that of some use to you. The price I paid was £349, that was from Appliances Direct. I wouldn't necessarily recommend them. They're one of the only companies that do sell a varied selection of air conditioners in the UK for you know, portable ones for your house. If you've got a property where you can put a split unit in, where you have one of the units on the wall inside, so you've got your evaporator inside and then your condenser mounted outside, then definitely use that method. Much more efficient than trying to use one of these portable ones. And again, if you're going to get a portable, if you can get a dual hose one, even better. But I couldn't really find any in the UK except for big industrial units, which were outside my price range and would be far too big, because this flat's quite small. The only other thing I would say about it was when I got it, it was quite rattly. There was a lot of loose screws, mainly there's ones in the corners over there. They were quite loose. The side panel ones were a bit loose, so I had to tighten all those up. So of course in the process I took it apart to have a look inside. As for the water it collects inside, it doesn't have a tank as such, it just collects at the bottom of the unit, and it's got a switch that's activated by a float if it gets too full. That holds just over a pint of water, so not really much. So if you're running it in the dehumidify mode, then you will need to connect a hose and put this thing higher up somewhere so that you can drain it properly. The only other thing I can think of is the filters. Again, they need to be done, they say about once a month. They're just washable filters, just rinse them under a tap. I want to keep the air intake free of any dust or anything. When you finish with the unit for the summer, it does sort of explain it, but not very well. You basically need to set it to fan mode only, low speed, and just leave it running for 5-6 hours so that it dries out any moisture that's inside the unit, so you don't get any mould growing when you're not using it over the winter time. It basically says, you know, select fan mode, press and hold button for 5 seconds, but doesn't say what button for 5 seconds. And I tried pressing and holding fan mode button for 5 seconds, that doesn't seem to do anything. So I don't know if it's some setting that then turns on the big blower fan for the bottom as well, so that you've got both fans running, but I can't figure out how to do it. So I might have to drop them an email or something and ask them what they're on about with that. And yeah, so this is the Amcor AC12. I bought Amcor because I read online that if you're going to get a portable air conditioner, it's better to go for one that's a recognised make. Can't say I've heard much about Amcor before, but it seems okay, but obviously, like I say, a few design issues with it. And I forgot to mention earlier, it is 12,000 BTU units, which is recommended for a medium to sort of slightly larger than medium sized room. But like I say, at the moment it doesn't really do much for getting the temperature down as much below what it is outside, but it does work more effectively than a fan does, so it does provide some relief, and of course it takes some of the moisture out of the air, so it's not so hot and sticky all the time. Anyway, I hope you found that useful.